the best experience, please listen with headphones. This episode contains reflective themes, historical speculation, and accounts involving military intervention and mysterious aerial events. Listener discretion is advised. Before we begin, I want to dedicate this episode to my dad. Someone who shares my fascination with the unexplained, with the skies above us, and with the possibility that we are not alone. So this one is for you. The desert has a strange way of keeping secrets. There's something about that empty horizon, that vast silence, that makes the impossible just feel a little more real. And as I was doing my research for this podcast, I kept circling back to one story, one moment that changed everything, and a moment that has never truly been explained. Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. A crash, a recovery, a sudden reversal, and a silence so heavy it still echoes today. Tonight we step back into the desert, and into the story that started 1,000 theories, and maybe one truth. Welcome to Beyond Haunted UK. This is Roswell. It began with a storm, a violent one, the kind that rips through the open sky and rolls across the desert like a living thing. When rancher Mac Brazel went out the next morning to check his land, he found something scattered across the ground, things he had never seen before. Metallic foil that snapped back into shape, no matter how hard you tried to crease it. Strange beams with symbols no one recognised, and light wooden-like struts that refused to burn. It wasn't an aircraft. It wasn't a weather balloon. And it wasn't anything he knew. So he did what anyone would do. He picked some of it up and took it into town. And that simple, ordinary act set off one of the biggest mysteries in modern history. On July the 8th, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield released a statement that would later become legendary. They claimed they had recovered a flying disc. Not debris, not a balloon, but a disc. Those words spread around the world almost instantly. Could you imagine standing in your kitchen and hearing the radio cackle to life and being told the US military had recovered a flying saucer? People must have stared at their radios in disbelief, thinking, this is it. This is the proof. And for a few hours, the world held its breath. But then, everything changed. Less than 24 hours later, that same military command released a second statement. Suddenly, the flying disc wasn't a disc at all. It was just a weather balloon. A balloon that somehow looked like metal, bent like a memory rubber, and carried symbols no one could read. Newspapers were told to correct their headlines. Officers posed for photographs holding pieces of tin foil and balsa wood. And one by one, the original witnesses went quiet. Some said they were visited. Some said they were warned. And Mac Brazel himself, the man who found the debris, later wished he had never said a thing. Because whatever fell in that desert, the world was suddenly not meant to know. Over the decades, witnesses began to speak. Not loudly and not publicly at first, but quietly near the end of their lives. Military personnel, base workers, and civilians living in the area. And their accounts shared details that didn't match any weather balloon ever built. People described an impact trench carved into the earth, debris that flexed and snapped back, metallic sheets light as paper, and beams covered in strange purple and pink symbols, and materials that couldn't be cut, burned, or broken. You can dismiss one story, maybe even 5, but hundreds, spread across years and across ranks, across people who'd never met. It creates a pattern, a shadow, a shape of something far beyond ordinary balloon technology. And still, the official line never changed. In the 1990s, the US government released a new explanation. The debris came from Project Mogul, a Cold War program using high-altitude balloons to detect Soviet nuclear tests. It sounded like the perfect answer, at first. But look closer, and things began to unravel. Project Mogul's materials weren't classified. They were ordinary foil, sticks, and rubber. Yet witnesses described materials we struggle to replicate today. And if the debris was truly normal, why were civilians pressured into silence? Why did the original press release get withdrawn? Why were military trucks seen even hauling crates through the night? And why did the testimony stay consistent for decades? When truth changes shape that quickly, it usually means the truth is something else entirely. This is the part of the story people whisper about. The part that turns Roswell from a mystery into something deeper. Several former military personnel later claimed that bodies were recovered. Small, humanoid, and partially injured from the impact. Some described them as child-sized, others as fragile with large head and dark eyes, and some said the bodies were taken to a tightly guarded facility for examination. Were they telling the truth? Or maybe their memories were distorted by time? Or were they finally releasing a secret they had carried for years? The consistency of their descriptions from people who never met is haunting. One spoke of a smell at the crash site. Another described the look on soldiers' faces, the sense of fear, not of danger, but of consequences. When enough people whisper the same thing, you begin to wonder. Roswell didn't just reveal a mystery, it revealed us. Our fear of the unknown, our instinct to hide what we don't understand, and our desire for answers, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Roswell sits at the crossroads of belief and disbelief, secrecy and curiosity, science and speculation, and fear and fascination. It shows how quickly truth can be reshaped, with a single headline and a single correction, and how the human mind fills the gaps left behind. Maybe nothing extraordinary happened, or maybe everything extraordinary happened. But the silence that followed was louder than any explanation. If you stand in Roswell today, just as the sun sets and the desert cools, the air feels heavy, still expectant, as though the land itself is holding on to something. A memory, a secret, a story waiting for someone brave enough to listen. Something did fall from the sky in 1947. Something people weren't meant to see. And something we still don't fully understand. Whether it was military, extraterrestrial, or something in between. Roswell changed the way we look at the night sky forever. Because after Roswell, we stopped asking if we were alone and started asking why the truth was hidden. Before you go, don't forget to follow Beyond Haunted UK on Spotify and across social media. Every follow, every share, and every message helps this community grow and keeps these stories alive. You'll find us wherever the strange and spiritual meet. Thank you for listening.